It's us again. We're back live once again from the deserts of Tatooine, Arizona, and from the beautiful, lush Takodana, Minnesota. But with that, we're ready to talk about some more Bad Batch. But before we get into it, Bailey, Brandon, let's do this. All right. It is good to see you guys again. It seems like the weeks are going by fast, man. It feels like we just did this, yet here we are. Once again, welcome to the Bad Batch Breakdown with Bailey and Brandon. I am Paul. I'm lucky enough to be your host because these two are the smart ones. I'm just the dummy pushing buttons. We'd like to welcome you all here today. I greatly appreciate everybody that's already here and commenting. We're going to start off really fast, as we always do, with welcoming some people who are already waiting for us. Look at that. We got G-Force guys already here. That was from about an hour ago, so hopefully he's still here. Look at that. We got chat legend Gilster buzzing. Absolutely. I'm buzzing too because we're going to throw a curveball at these guys, Gilster, and see what happens. Yeah, it's not going to be too bad, but I think we might actually get a little bit of discourse. Salacious, my man. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Well, we got a new name in here, Mikey in Houston. Hi, Mikey.
Mikey.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks for the clap. And as always, Brother Josh got us.
Hello there.
Yeah, so real quick while we're talking about Josh, I'm pretty excited that he's here. And I'm also happy that apparently as things start to open up, he's got to go back to work. But, you know, from a selfish perspective, I'm going to kind of miss him because he's contributed a lot to the chat. So hopefully we'll get to see him every now and then as things open up. Look at that. Gilster says, G-Force says he's still here. So we are good to go. Welcome, guys. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Can't complain.
Okay. You know what? No one would care anyway, would they, right? So you just got to move right on. Bailey, how about you, ma'am? How are you doing?
I am doing well, and honestly, I'm kind of in a fighting mood right now, so.
Oh, well, Brandon took a nap, so it is fitting to be on like Donkey Kong, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see what happens. So, as you guys normally know, we normally get right into this, and we start talking about the overall impressions on the episode. But if you'll recall last time, I encouraged people to give us questions, throw some things in the comments or send me a tweet or a Twitter message or whatever you want to call them so that we could respond to those or maybe bring that topic up. And I'll be darned if two of our favorite friends didn't actually do that. So we're going to get right into this. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Yeah, John from Super Awesome Geek took me up on my offer.
Oh, John.
Yeah, so if you'll recall last episode, we talked about Kanan Jarrus and Deepa Balaba and whether or not he and or she were, well, she's definitely not, whether or not he was coming back. Brandon thinks that there's a possibility, and Bailey and I thought that that's just how they were going to tie the episodes or that of the Bad Batch into the Clone Wars. But here's John's thoughts on Kanan. They chose him to be on the Bad Batch for a reason. They knew they were changing the comics, and they decided to do that. It wasn't just a whim or an FU to the comics. They have an absolute reason. They could have just done any Padawan, but they chose Caleb. So I think we'll absolutely be seeing him again in Bad Batch. They chose to use him so Filoni could use this Bad Batch show to flesh out something he wants to show on Kanan Jarrus. There's something he never got to communicate about the character in Rebels, and now he sees the chance in Bad Batch. These writers are not idiots. You got to love John, man. He comes correct, doesn't he? They specifically chose every single thing for a reason. They could have left the comic as it is and made up a new Padawan and Master, but specifically decided not to and instead made a point using Caleb Dune. So they have a reason behind that decision, and we will see that reason later in the season. Bailey, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sorry, I had to process that for a little bit. Wow. Okay. I can see that. Sure. I'm sure there probably is a reason why they chose to do what they did. We just have yet to see it. But I guess my only gripe with that still is when I'm sure these shows are planned out years in advance, right? And I'm sure he is correct in saying that we're choosing this Master Padawan for a reason for this show. But my only thing is, wouldn't that have come into this? So then I'm just confused on, is there a disconnect between the people who make the comics versus the writers on these shows? Because then I would just assume, if that was the case, that the comics would have been, made around that, where when we watch the show later, we can see like, oh, I can see how that seamlessly fits into this. They would just leave the Bad Batch out of the comic, but they would keep like the planet and like all the events around it the same. So that would be my only question, is then I don't understand why there's that disconnect then, because if that was the case, then I don't know, because it's like, I would just think that these people wouldn't want discourse to happen in the fandom. So
you're such an optimist.
That's the thing. It's like, if we're gonna do this, if this was a long premeditated decision, and if this is something that we're gonna understand later on, then why wouldn't the comics reflect that as well? So
fair enough. So your final answer is John's a nice guy and we love him, but he's crazy. You think they just threw them in there at the beginning and we're out?
No, I just like, yeah, like I don't think he's, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of neutral on that, where it's like, I can see what you're saying, but then I still have a question. Okay.
So obviously the next thing that comes up, Brandon, is you said that he may be back because you kind of were leaning this way. You still feel that way? You want to expand on what John had to say?
No, I think that was a good way to put it. And it does often seem that the novels and the comics are there. It's always like the movies and then the TV shows and the animation, and then the comics and the novels are the order that they put importance on, which is too bad, because oftentimes, some things, I mean, the Rise of Skywalker novelization, there are things in that aren't in the movies that give little bits. And it's weird that as Star Wars fans, we need to go into the novelizations and the books to get stuff that was missing from the movie, but then to also have them say that's not what we wanted to do. And the timing just may have been poor, because they probably wrote this comic and then they were like, you know what, we could find a way to connect Bad Batch with Rebels through Kanan. And we like that in the story going forward rather than what was shown in the comic. And it doesn't change that much, but it is still, I can see where people's buttons are being pushed with that, and I see why people would be upset with it.
Because
I totally get it.
It goes right what I said last week. Then it's like, what's the point of reading these books, and what's the point of writing these comics and books together if we're just going to change it for the show? Because again, as someone who writes and whatnot, I would be kind of peeved if you're like, I'm coming with you with these ideas and you're telling me, yes, let's put that on paper, and then later down the road you decide to go in a different direction. It's like, no, why can't there just be that like connection of like, I'm on the same page, you're on the same page? And I'm not saying copy every single little thing in a book or a comic, but like, there were major changes in there, and honestly I would be looking at that like, well, what was the point of all that work I put into if you're just going to change things? So it's like, I'm sorry. It's just like,
I knew bringing this up was going to be awesome, because Brandon had predicted it. He predicted that most likely he would be back. But I know as a writer, you pour your heart into those things, and to have somebody just go, man, we're going to do it this way after you did that can,
surprise! I had something else, but I didn't tell you.
Guess what we did, right? Yeah, exactly. So before we move on to the next topic, really quick, I want to recognize some people that we've got. Look at that, Shabby showed up tonight, brother. Good to see you, my friend.
Looking forward to this. I hope you are, Mark.
Oh, it's gonna keep getting better and better this time. I'm gonna start handing out alcohol to these two before we start these shows and see what happens. Just kidding.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Right. There's Michael Hendrickson. Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure. Got everybody going back and forth. There's another new name, Jacob. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, exactly. Wow, you got to be careful. This thing is touchy. Hey, Linda. Good to see you. I see her over on Papa Gord all the time. Thanks for stopping by us tonight. I appreciate that. And then, of course, Gilster has to remind us, hey, PB and Ewok.
Excellent nickname.
I love that name. It was awesome. We got Blitz in here tonight. Hey there. Thank you very much for joining us. We're greatly appreciate having you. It's so much more fun to talk to people, isn't it, when there's somebody in here? So, yeah, all righty. So, the next topic I have for you is another comment. And this one isn't quite as controversial, but I think it's an interesting take. And it kind of struck me. And it's from our good friend, Josh Anderson. And you know, when Josh has an idea, that's something you got to take seriously because, man, has he come correct since we started this. So he hit me up on Twitter, and here's what I got for you. Just throwing this out there. I think Omega is the secret project the cloners are working on. And her special skill isn't force sensitivity, but mimicry. Kind of like that new Taskmaster character over at the Marvel Universe. She can mimic the skills of others, and she may even be slightly empathetic to their thoughts and feelings. The reason she told Crosshairs in the cell that it wasn't his choice because she knew about the chip because she worked with the cloners, and she did not see him through the future through the Force because her thing is mimicry, which is why she was able to shoot and do the tracking and stuff like that because she picked up the sand, which we'll get to. So Baylor, we're going to start with you this time. I would love to hear your thoughts on what Josh said real quick. What do you think about that? Because that would make you happy. No force sensitive clone, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Josh. Honestly, I was a little scared when you said I would love to hear your thoughts, and then before you put something up there, I'm like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Because Paul knows my buttons. He knows what's going to set me off. So Josh, I hope you are 1,000% correct. I do not want to see a copy and paste. I will say it until I'm blue in the face. I really hope that's the case. Mimicry, I think, would be a much better route to take because it would be something different, and it would be like, oh, I can see why Omega is, different and unique. I don't want force sensitivity. This ain't a show about my space wizard, so leave it out. Leave it out. You're not going to give me a show on my space wizard. Leave it out. So,
fair enough.
Josh, thank you.
Really quick, JT showed up. JT, thanks, man. I appreciate you dropping by. And John, I hope you got here in time to catch that. We just had a quick debate about your topic, and it divided everybody just as I thought it would. So you actually were a huge contributor to tonight's show, and I appreciate it. So, but really quick with that, Brandon, I don't want to leave out your opinion here. What do you think about Omega being a mimic as like Taskmaster as opposed to force sensitive?
And Salacious Rum has mentioned that too, and that's what I've been hoping because I didn't want force sensitive either. And I was going to talk about it because there are some things in this episode and the last episode where it's seeming like Omega might have the abilities of the other Clone Force 99 clones, right? Mm-hmm. And I am hoping that's the way that they go with it and not force sensitive. And the whole empathetic feeling, the precognition thing, that's the only thing I'm worried about is seeing the future with the Force. But it could definitely just be and I mean technically that would be still force sensitive, would it not? In this universe is not any ability that's beyond usual, some sort of, you know what I mean?
What do you think about, is Brandon accurate on that? Or?
I'm with Brandon on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right. Yeah. So the midichlorians to small extent or to a large extent pretty much influence life. And if Omega is like that, then maybe it's slightly force sensitive, but more of a mimic thing. Is that what you guys are saying? Yeah. Okay. So we hit up the 2 comments we got. And just to reiterate, after the show is over, if you have questions or concerns or comments or ideas, please put those in the comments below. Or if you have me on Twitter or Bailey or Brandon on Twitter, please send your thoughts over to them. We love to debate other thoughts. We don't think we know everything here. At least I know I don't for sure. These 2 might, though. They're a lot smarter than me. And we will definitely get to you, especially if it's something that I think will get these 2 going at each other. So
you really want to see us fight, don't you, Paul?
No. All right, so we're going to move on to the part of the show here where we actually talk about the upcoming episode. And Tez reminded me last time that although it's been 100 years in internet time, it's really only been about 24 hours since the show came out. So I got to play something really fast so everybody knows what they're getting into ahead of time. We will definitely be talking about spoilers on here. So if you haven't seen the show and you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, come catch us on the rewind. But otherwise, we're going to get all up into this. So with that, we'll come over here. We'll do this. And as usual, you guys know how I do this. I love to start with Brandon, so Bailey can come swooping in there. And
Go for the kill.
So, Brandon, an entirely different type of episode. And before you start, I'm going to say right now, I'm torn. I don't know if this was a miracle of subtle storytelling or boring predictability that I could have done without. I need you to convince me of one of those.
I've been struggling with that too. I think I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and sorry. I just watched it before I took my little nap, but and it's not what put me asleep. So I'm enjoying the storytelling of it all. I mean, with shows like this, you're gonna get those missions where it's like, well, we're gonna crash land here and we're gonna have to try to figure it out while this happens, but then something else is going on, and it's just
where have I heard this before? So
yeah. But I was actually impressed with this episode because I was watching it and I was like, this is just going to be one of the, to use the term loosely, filler episodes. And I've already seen a lot of people saying this is so far the worst of the 3 episodes. Not worst, but, not as exciting. But I think that they foreshadowed so much. And for me, it wasn't so much of a filler episode. It was a foreshadowing episode. And we can talk about it later. But there are so many points where I'm like, oh, like if this is what's like, I did enjoy it. Probably seeing Crosshairs, with his new team was probably one of my favorite things about it. And in a role reversal, Omega actually annoyed me more than he did the past couple of episodes, and Wrecker was less annoying to me. So I don't know if but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Okay, fair enough. That's a quick, good take. A really quick. There's Chris. Thanks for stopping by, Chris. Good to have you, brother. So Bailey, you know what? Brandon didn't really convince me either way. I was going to call this the Telegraph episode. I could just hear him beep, beep, beeping and a bunch of stuff that's going to happen down the road, or the planting seeds episode, but I'm not sure we needed it, but who knows? What do you think about all that?
I would definitely agree that this was the weakest of the 3 so far. And I remember watching the episode and I thought of you, Paul, because Paul has been saying behind the scenes, guys, that he's like, he put Brandon and I together because he's hoping, to pull up his snacks and see a fight happen, because he knows what pushes my buttons. So, and this was an episode where some of the thoughts that I had before the show started, my concerns, came to light. And again, I think a little differently in that I write. And so when I look at episodes like this is how I'm thinking here. I understand the need to slow down and, plant the seeds and foreshadow things. But I don't, at the same time, I'm all about pacing. I think, and I said this in the beginning, I think if you're going to have a show and you're going to say, okay, this is going to be 14 episodes, I want every single episode to count, because when I'm writing chapters, I want to make every single chapter count.
Sure.
Because you want to keep the people engaged. You want them to keep either reading or watching or get them excited to watch the next episode. When you, because I mean, I have some Star Wars books that took me forever and a day to get through, because there were just some chapters in there where I'm like, there's like nothing going on, and they're slowing down, and sometimes they have more than one author, and I'm like, okay, so there's 3 of you and you're still boring me. What is going on here? So this is how I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, there were some things in there that I liked. Like the Kaminoans getting a little concerned about who are they going to choose as their warrior. Are they going to continue with the clones or not? And I can see they can go to
the 300 pages. Yeah. Woo! Sorry, Bailey.
My blood pressure.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't think this episode, I can tell you right now, when we see the whole thing, this is an episode where you can delete it and nothing would change. There wasn't enough in there to really grab my attention. And here's the thing, if I'm starting to reach for my phone when I'm watching something, that's not a good sign. That tells me like things are a little too slow and there's not a, and there just wasn't enough going on. It was your run of the mill, there's something wrong with our ship, we got to take a pit stop, and oh no, there's something going on, and meanwhile, what's going on with the villains? I don't want that. I don't want that. Like, I've seen this before. I've seen it. Like that was some of the issues I had with Rebels. It's like, I don't want, no, come on. They started off really strong with the Order 66, and things are weird, and oh my gosh, we need to get away from Kamino and Tarkin. This is a very bad guy, and we lost Crosshair. They started off really strong. So you gotta keep that momentum. If I had to put it eloquently, I would say this was an episode where I'm like, I feel like I'm still waiting for the plot to happen. Like, I'm waiting for the story to happen. And that's something I was worried about beforehand, where I was like, it's, as Brandon said, I don't think this would be like a filler episode, but I think it was like, we need to start picking up the pace, because you're going to start to lose my interest, and these characters need to develop. They need to develop. They're still like in that trope stage. And I'm going to go with Brandon, is like, I like Omega, but even she was kind of like, I can see where they're going. Like, I can predict, all right, she's going to be able to, she's going to save the day. And all right. But yeah, this was definitely the weakest. And I just really hope next week they pick it up. What is going on? Give me something to look forward to, because if you're going to have 14 episodes, I would have hoped, and I might get burned for this, but like, I would have hoped that you would have planned it to be like, yeah, we have 14 episodes for a reason. Every single episode is going to keep you engaged from beginning to end. There's something to take away from this episode that needs to apply to the next episode. And again, it's no different than writing a book. You want every chapter to count because you want people engaged in what you have to say. So yeah, and I would agree with that comment. Episode 2 definitely had more of a story for me going on than this one. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I broke anyone's heart, but it's like, this is like my honest thoughts of like, this was a slow episode.
So I knew this was eventually going to happen. It happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to happen, because I thought we'd be about the midpoint in this and they would start to slow down a little bit to give people a break. Here we are, episode 3. And just going through the comments, you can see people either disagree with you, Bailey, or they agree. It's like it's almost a 50-50. Yeah. And I think it was a good episode to see where everybody lies, because I'm still sitting here right now thinking to myself, they just planted a lot of seeds, but not a lot happened. And for the old guys, I've seen this before. We were on an asteroid, or we were in a frozen planet when this happened, or God knows where. And we've seen a lot of this. So stick to your guns. And this is why I have you guys on, because I have some definite opinions and I want to hear them, regardless of what the popular fan theories might be out there. Brandon, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
I actually liked the seed planting for this one. I was worried when we started seeing it. I was really worried that it wasn't going to do enough for me, but I was really interested in the Admiral Rampart, the Louisiana. He got that was the product code for the Black Series figure for that character, because they announced that. Thank you. Yes, there we go. And I was like, well, if they're going to do a figure for him, he's going to have some important role. And I thought it was interesting because we saw him in the previous episode with the chain code stuff. And now he is also going to be in charge of, through Tarkin, in charge of the elite squad. And I actually really liked the whole elite squad stuff. And them asking, why is a clone leading this? There are other ways to get loyal soldiers and stuff like that. And you can see Tarkin like, ha ha ha, yes. And that's something he totally believes in. But I thought it was very interesting that he is also going to be technically in charge of this, because I thought Tarkin was going to be in charge of the elite squad, but it's almost like he's got something else that he's going to keep his focus on for right now that he knows that he can trust Rampart for this. But a couple things that really, really made me think, like foreshadowing wise, is the scanner thing that Tech is working on to check their inhibitor chips.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wrecker with like, ow, I hurt my head during the crash. And it's like, no, you didn't. Your chip is acting up. Something's going to happen there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to see Omega like pick up the tracking really easily. Like she hung out with Hunter for a couple minutes and was like, yeah, you got knocked out and I went and did the whole mission by myself. But she used the tracking that Hunter was kind of showing her. But I think the thing that I was excited for the most was the mystery with the clones at the end. Which clones are they talking about that they need to bring back to Kamino? Are they talking about the Bad Batch? Are they talking about Boba Fett? Are they talking about Rex or Cody or one of the other clones that are superior clones? Like they may just be a clone of Jango Fett, but we know that Rex is going to show up in the trailer. But
we know now.
You got to bring that up, don't you?
You've only not known something once. I finally got you. I'm just going to hold on to it forever. So sorry.
But
anyway,
I feel like whenever I was, like Bailey said, whenever I was thinking like, they're starting to lose me, they dropped at least one little thing that I was like, oh, that made me think about it. And like when I watched the episode first, I watch it just to see what it is. Second time I start taking notes on it. And then each time I watch and see if there's something that I didn't pick up on. Right. And it definitely wasn't as fun to watch as the last two episodes. Sure. I thought the second episode, was very similar. They had to go out of their way to do something in little mission, but the way that they did the second episode with bringing back Cut really had me interested. So this episode, I thought it was still fun to watch, but I didn't think it was as good as the last two. And it is very much a setting up episode. And we've talked a little bit about it before. And season 7 of the Clone Wars, we were expecting every episode to be epic all the way through. And then there were certain episodes in each arc, and arguably an arc that, was disappointing. And like the last 4 episodes, the whole Mandalore arc was that could be a movie. And I was like, anytime I watch it now, I'm just glued to the TV. But it's hard to set, at the same time as like I want everything, like Bailey said, I want everything to be important. You almost get too rushed. And I don't know how many people watch Game of Thrones, but the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones got very rushed because they were like plot point. It was like there was nothing in between, and it was almost jarring how quickly things were happening. Okay. So that's where I think episodes like these break things up enough, but I can see where I see what Bailey's saying.
Fair enough. So we almost got, as far as I was concerned, we almost got 2 episodes in one, because we've got the new trooper arc thing going on with Rampart and the new Black Stormtroopers, which we'll get into, and we've got we're wrecked on an asteroid in a monster's mouth. Oh wait, that was something else. We're wrecked on a planet, and we've got guys climbing on. So let's talk about let's go back to Kamino and talk about really fast. I pulled it up briefly, Bailey. But they mentioned something that I'm going to bring up because I'm a big Rogue One fan. They talk about War Mantle, and War Mantle was one of the programs that Jyn Erso found in the computer system while they were trying to get the Stardust plans. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on here, what War Mantle is, and what's kind of going on?
Ooh, I think Brandon might be better than me on this one.
Okay.
This is where my knowledge kind of slips a little bit.
Got it. Brandon, do you know what's going on? Because I think I have an idea. I was just wondering if you know what's going on.
With you go first. You go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we want to hear Paul's thoughts too.
I'm one of you. I'm smart. People like me. So Warmantle is mentioned here, and when Rogue One is happening, she's going through the plans. You're thinking that's like a big laser or some superstar destroyer or something like that. Turns out it's the replacement of the clones by conscripted and soldiers who volunteer for the Empire. And one of the arcs that I wanted to see that I got a little bit out, that's why this episode wasn't a complete flush it for me, was they talk about how they were able to get the clone troopers switched over to the stormtroopers and how the stormtroopers were so loyal and so fervent and there's one of them, and I don't have his picture, the blonde one that ends up going down later, talks about the Empire is giving me a roof over my head, food, and a purpose or money or something to that effect. And he said, that's more than the Republic's ever done for me. And it's slowly starting to fall into place for him, because as a guy who looks at the politics in these things, we got about 5-10 years before everybody has forgotten about the Jedi. All the stormtroopers are fanatical and the whole thing has changed. And so that's what's going on here. And that's what I wanted to bring up apparently. And I thought that was really cool. Do you guys remember them talking about Warmantle in there?
Yeah. Okay,
cool. So we'll take this picture down really fast. I don't think I have a good one, but the two Kaminoans are standing over the clones and they're talking about, we need them to come back, but we only need one. And Brandon, you briefly touched on it. So I'm going to start off with Bailey this time. Bailey, do you know what they're talking about? Do we know what they're talking about? Or do you have some conjecture on which clone it is they need back and what are they doing?
If I had to put money on it, I would think they're referring to Omega. Because again, Kaminoans don't create for a reason. So, and they were very, Omega wasn't, she wasn't alone for very long. One of them was very much like, no, you need to stay by my side. And I don't think they're all too pleased that she's off world. So I would have to probably Omega, just because we don't know what her significance is yet and why they would be interested. So if they're saying we just need one, I think maybe they're saying we need one of someone within the Bad Batch, because they know they've gone rogue, but I think it's Omega that they want.
I wouldn't disagree with you, because if they just needed one of the Bad Batch, Crosshair's right there, and that's what I was thinking. Brandon, what do you think about what are they looking for here?
That's a good point. And I was, when I try to do that, I try to think of like the different things, and that might be what gets me in trouble when I want to see certain stuff. And I feel like that happens a lot with fan theories and everything. But that's probably the most realistic answer for that. But I feel like it would be interesting if they went after like Boba Fett or one of the other clones that is like, if they can't get to Omega, that maybe maybe that's how they tie in Rex or Cody, where it's like because they're saying that the DNA for Jango is breaking down, and that you're not going to be able to clone a regular clone and get the same. So that they're saying they want a superior clone, and it's got to be one of the Bad Batch or Omega or an unaltered clone like Boba Fett is. Yep. And from the very beginning, I said I think it would be cool if they find a way to tie Boba Fett into the story, whether he's helping to hunt down the Bad Batch hired by Tarkin, or this didn't even come into my brain that they might need him for some sort of other research. And it's interesting because I've seen people say like, well, Boba isn't the property of Kamino anymore. And it's like, well, he was the oh my goodness, my tongue's getting tied. The property of Jango Fett. Well, when Jango died, Kamino was probably like, well, there's a clone for us. Like, we need to get that asset back. So, yeah. And I mean, you see it in the Clone Wars, even after Jango has died, Boba Fett tries to go after the Jedi for him, being killed. So I think, you know, that may be an unrealistic answer, and it's most likely Omega or, you know, one of the other clones. But I'm keeping my thoughts open.
Absolutely. Really quick, we got Treebeard's Toy Box showed up. Hey, it's good to see you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming by. And Left Coast Graphics, Boba's sister. Yeah. I guess technically that's kind of the case if you stop and think about it. Omega's kind of Boba's sister. The whole thing with this cloning and everything is wild. So, and then, hey, there we go. There's our fellow sweating in the desert friend, Sean Solo, Bailey. Good to see you, Sean. Hey, guys, I had to rewatch some, but caught up. Good evening. Good to see you. So we're just trying to catch up on the episode. So we're going to stay on Camino for a second, and we're going to go to what I think is one of the more interesting aspects of what went on, because we get to this. And here we begin the Stormtrooper. And Brandon, you talked about this, and I will tell you, when I saw these guys, I'm like, this is the beginning of Shadow Troopers, and then Death Troopers, and then the ones that aren't quite as good, Stormtroopers and stuff like that. So when you saw this, Brandon, what was going through your mind? What did you think of that scene?
Oh, I was so excited. And especially when the blonde one there was talking about the Republic, that he was a fighter for the Republic. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if you think about the Republic, he must have been some sort of important person, because most of the fighters for the Republic were clones. Like, that was the whole point of the clone army, was to not get the regular people involved. So it was faceless pawns going against the droids. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. And I was like, maybe we'll see who this character was more. And then bam, dead. So
okay.
And I was like, well, damn.
Well, that's the end of it.
Yeah. Because I thought that was a cool concept to go into, like what made him go from Republic to, to then the Empire switching over to, and it's interesting that, the one that was I'm guessing was in the Republic Army, he probably worked with the Jedi, and he had, some emotional ties to that. So when it was hunting down these random civilians, he took issue with it. So I'm interested to see, because you see the helmets there, and they all look like the figure that we got, and they're all very similar. But then when they're on the on Onderon, hunting down the insurgents, you could see different colors with their armor, almost like, because the different lights were shining on and stuff. And I was just like, that, I just thought it was weird, and I was trying to pick up, what they, I
didn't catch that. Okay.
And it might just have been the lighting, but like the shading on. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say the shading on some of the helmets made it look like there were different designs, but from this it looks like they're all the same.
Yeah, I got the impression they were all the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Bailey, I know this isn't like coming up to the Empire isn't necessarily, as you've always mentioned, your strong suit, but did you see anything that caught your eye that was interesting, or that made you go, oh,
honestly, this was the best part of the episode. No. And I really think if they just spent the entire episode focused on just this, instead of having two different things going on, I would have been much happier, because this was engaging to me. And, in case, for the new viewers, I like my space wizards. Those are the guys that hold my interest. And so when I'm going into a show where that's not necessarily the focus point, like, I want to see something. I do want to see something intriguing. And to me, these guys made the was like the one good thing I enjoyed the episode, because there were stakes involved. Okay, there was some tension there between Crosshair and these other people. There was that foreshadowing. Like, I'm good with slowing down and tackling things that are going to be important in the future. But I think the issue with this episode is, I think we just needed to pick one. Sometimes it's okay to just pick one aspect to focus on. Again, no different than writing a book. Sometimes you just need to dedicate a chapter to one thing. And I think if they would just done this, that would have been a solid episode, because you got the action and then you got the foreshadowing, and it wasn't jarring. You know, it does, like, it builds that tension. There were stakes involved because Crosshair had no problem pulling the trigger on them.
Mhm.
That's tension, that's suspense. That's what kept my eyes on the screen.
Right.
So I liked it. I think that was the best part of the episode, and I really think they should have spent the entire 20 some odd minutes on that. And we could have just tossed the rest.
Perfect. So we're going to try. I'm glad you brought that up, Bailey.
I know I must be hurting feelings, but you know, it's good to hear different opinions, guys. It's okay.
Well, that's why I love you two, and that's why I love this community, because you'll see it in the comments. I haven't been able to put every one of them up. Everybody's talking about love the differing opinion, love the that you're willing to say it, but you're still being polite about it, Bailey, and that's the important part. This wouldn't be any fun. I told you guys if all three of us were like, "This was the best episode ever." Okay, bye. So this is good, and it helps me because I literally, and I wasn't exaggerating, when I got in here, I'm like, I don't know if I liked that or if I didn't. So you guys are helping me see some other aspects of it. But good segue. You talked about Crosshair pulling the trigger on them. We're going to go to that next, but really fast. We got to say hi to chat legend Scuba Pete up in here. If you get a chance, go check out his YouTube channel. It's awesome. Love you, Pete. I couldn't help myself. Yeah. Pete doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he's got the awesome collection. Everybody gives him a hard time. So
he's like the most famous YouTuber that doesn't YouTube.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. So we're going to head into that. And Brandon, I'm going to put you on the spot here, my man. This right here, one of the darkest things I've seen in an animated series ever. Yeah. Once you talk, tell me what happened, how that made you feel, what's going on here.
Yeah, so in the first episode, we see the Bad Batch find these insurgents that are part of Saw Gerrera's crew and people that he's with, and Tarkin's basically like, let's test these new elite squad troopers and see if they have what it takes. So we're gonna send them to the same we're gonna send this elite squad to do what the Bad Batch couldn't, to see how well they do. And they show up and it's immediately just boom, 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 like Crosshairs is sniping people. It looks like they're gonna take off and get away safe, and he shoots right through the windshield and kills the driver. And the blonde elite squad trooper that we were talking about, that was part of the Republic, he was like, no, we can't do these. These are civilians. And Crosshair's like, so you're not going to follow orders? And he was like, no, none of us are. He turns around and then bam, right in the back. Like,
really quick, Brandon, can I touch on something you hit real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but no, I thought when they got in that ship and they were starting to pull away, I'm like, yeah, okay, see, this is animated. They're going to get away, and the civilians will get away, and they killed all the bad guys. And when that shot went through the front windshield and killed the pilot, it literally jarred me. I was shocked. I was like, oh, what is this? This is not what I expected. So, yeah. But anyway, so they're headed over there, and he talks to the blonde guy. Go. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was, you can see that the troopers have different almost specialties. So I'm hoping for some variations on these figures, but I'm guessing we're just going to get that one elite squad trooper. But it was really cool to see Crosshairs just completely lead this squad and say, why they picked me. It's because I do what needs to be done. And it's like, ooh, dang. So that was really cool. And like Bailey said, it was, and like I said earlier, I thought this was the best part of the episode. And I'm just really excited to see how this progresses. And I'm still sticking to my guns that we're going to see Commander Cody in some capacity like this, just because that's my hope. But I think it's very interesting that the War Mantle is about the clones teaching these elite squad troopers. They're like, well, the clones still have a purpose, so let's squeeze as much out of them as we can before we get rid of them.
Right.
So this whole segment and the whole stuff with the elite squad that made the episode, and that's it. I could see where Bailey wanted this to just be the episode.
Bailey, what are your thoughts on that? Because that was, as far as Star Wars goes, especially animation, that's some Empire Strikes Back shocking stuff right there.
Oh yeah, and I am that took me by surprise too. And, I think it's good to take risks like that, especially with animation, because like I said, I think there is a big stigma when it comes to these animated shows that they can't be as emotional or as engaging or shocking as their live action counterpart. And I thought that was good, and what I like about it is, like, as jarring as it wasn't like, it wasn't distasteful. It wasn't just like, like, I'm not like a gore person. I'm not like a shoot 'em up kind of person. It was just very like, just one and done, like, wow, that was shocking, but then it was over with. Because I think they still have to keep in mind that younger audiences are watching it. So, yeah, it should have been the whole episode. It had everything. You got that tension, you got that foreshadowing, and you got this. I felt like there was more of a plot going on here than what the show is supposed to be about, So I think Brandon put it very nicely.
Excellent. So yeah, and I think you made an excellent point there, Bailey. I've seen some stuff in my day. Okay, I was in the Army and done a bunch of stuff. And if I'm like, that means they did it right, but they didn't overdo it, because I wasn't thinking to myself, man, I hope my wife doesn't catch me watching this because it didn't get that bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know what? There's just some great chat going on, you guys. Really quick, I appreciate everybody who's joined us. We're up to like 25 viewers. You guys going back and forth. It's obviously impossible for me to throw them all up, but just some great, people talking about how they enjoyed the storylines in this episode because they contrasted. There's that positive, negative. Nobody hated this episode, but like I said, I'm on the fence. And then of course everybody's, Treebeard's got a good point here. There's something going on with Wrecker's chip, which we're going to get to in just a second here. So I appreciate everybody contributing and going back and forth in the chat. Brandon, let's move on here. I want to hit. Did they ever say the name of the planet that they crash landed on? I don't think we caught it. Did we?
I don't think so.
It looked like a moon of some
sort. It did. It looked like a moon or something. So Brandon, give us an idea of what happened here and what's going on. Kind of lead us in and give us some thoughts on that.
So it starts out and they're, Omega's taking a nap on a gonk droid, and they're trying to figure out, Tech is trying to work out something with a sensor to see the status of their inhibitor chips, which, that's heavy foreshadowing that, they're going to have issues with these chips. And the rest of the crew is kind of upset with Tech because they're like, well, our ship is having issues and you're working on this. And he's like, oh, well, nothing important is affected. And then they fall out of hyperspace and crash on a moon. So,
nothing big. Just
the fact that they stated it that way, it's like clearly there are going to be issues with the inhibitor chip. And, anytime it's like, oh, well, we're crashed and our ship is not working, we need to do this and this, like it. Yeah. It can be frustrating, but at least they had some moments where you see things like Omega scouting / tracking with Hunter, and you can see that we're gonna call it probably a mimicry from now on. There you have it. Yeah. It's always funny whenever we're put up on the screen and we're like,
there's no way for me to sneaky warn you, so you just pop up. Okay, sorry.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't need to see that, but no, it was.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Moving right along, Brandon. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It was. I just lost it. The way that they foreshadowed stuff, like Omega knocking over or taking down Crosshair's stuff. It's like, are they foreshadowing that Omega is going to use Crosshair's old stuff? Like, are we going to see the sniping ability? Because we've already seen her use a weapon with high proficiency, even though she's like, I've never held one of these before. And then she's like, pew pew. And then she's already shown the ability to track. It's like, are we going to see something that makes her go like full Hulk mode, like Wrecker, and want to blow stuff up and smash stuff? She's working with, as a young child, she's working with the cloners, So she's obviously smart and she knows how to use the technical stuff. So, I mean, we've already kind of seen that she can do the whole tech stuff. And so I think we're going to slowly see these skills being used by her. And that's the part that I'm going to say is that I'm okay with how they did with this episode, with the splitting it into the two different kind of stories, and then seeing it wasn't just like it was kind of just like we need to get that part back for our ship to work. But if we don't have these moments where we see Omega do stuff on her own, even if it is tropey, like, well, the hunter who'd be able to do that all by himself, but we see the kid do it. If we don't have those moments, would we be complaining about that in the future, that we didn't see these little building up things?
Fair enough.
And that's the only thing where I get caught up on it, because it was, like I said, it so far this has been my least favorite episode, but I still think it's an important one, especially with the elite squad.
You know what? I think that's an excellent point, Brandon. That's an excellent way to put it. Not the most exciting, but necessary. Bailey, I'm going to put something on the screen that I want you to read, and then I'd like you to answer this question, if you don't mind. Can someone tell Sentry why Kanan sounds like a 40-year-old man?
You know what? That is a question that you are never going to get the answer to. More us. Because
what's the real reason? What's the real reason?
Well,
the in-world reason.
I think it was, fan service, possibly. Just to remind people, like, oh yeah, they brought Freddie back to do this voice, but then they kind of forgot that Kanan is like 14 or something, and 14-year-olds don't sound like that. So I could see, like, and I'm sure with the technology they have, I'm sure they could have done something to the voice to make him sound younger. Like, it could have been the same actor. I'm not like, saying that was a terrible idea, but they could have adjusted the voice. And there are people on YouTube who have done that, where they've tweaked it to where it's like he sounds more like a kid. So excellent question. People have tried, with that one, and they got nowhere. So that is going to be left unanswered.
Fair enough. Yeah. So long story short, Freddie Prinze came back, and I can do it on my computer with a slider in 2 seconds and make his voice a little. Why they didn't do that, I don't know, but it might be in Freddie's contract that you can't alter his voice. Who understands Hollywood? But that's what's going on with that. And after the which we're not going to get into on this channel, but after the brief spat with Freddie Prinze and or Freddie Prinze Jr. and the fandom, I got a kick out of Bailey's response, so that's why I threw that up there. Yeah,
I'm being nice.
Yes, you are, and I'm very proud of you, ma'am. And Chris is going PG-13 on us, if you feel me.
Maybe there was a biological response with them being force sensitive. With the midichlorians speed things up.
Right. Who knows what other powers Kanan has because of the force. Anyway, moving right along. Bailey, I know I just hit you with that question, but you're up. So
okay.
Rambo, I'm sorry, not Rambo. Hunter goes down.
Was that his name?
Yeah. Hunter goes down because plot. And they have to go get the power source back from the Minok. I'm sorry, the dragon. And so can you feel it coming out of me? Anyway, and so the mimic goes in herself, and we see some interactions there. What is there's all kinds of speculation. What's going on with her and that dragon down there? Or is that just completely innocuous?
You know what? I don't really get that one either, because the only time we've seen something like that where a creature is on the same wavelength as somebody, that's a Jedi trait. Like, some Jedi are able to tap into the Force and be like a friend, basically like the Disney princess of animals. Like, they're able to be have that companionship with these animals. So that's what that reminded me of, but that's where I was like, oh, please don't be force sensitive. Please don't be. That's the only other time we've seen that happen. Obi-Wan has had it. Ezra Bridger's had it. It is a ability of a force sensitive. So I don't really get it because it was made out to be this this like threat, and all of a sudden it wasn't. So that would be more of a question I have for the writers. Just like, I don't understand, like they didn't really give us a whole lot to explain why that would be the case.
Okay. So what this reminded me of, and this was the only one that you omitted, was Ray in the cave with the big snake when they fall in. That's what this reminded me of. Brandon, what's your take on what's going on here, man?
Yeah, and I had to rewatch this part a couple times because I was just like, is she having a moment where she's, having like the force animal connection that we see several other times? And after watching it a couple times, it's like because of the way that we've seen her able to connect things, and her empathy and almost being able to sense their feelings, it was almost like she realized that it wasn't going to hurt her. It just wanted the flashlight. And when it realized that the flashlight wasn't a weapon, and that she realized that it just wanted the flashlight because it wants to feed off an energy source, she was like, I don't have to fight this. I don't have to hurt it, because already we can see that Omega is like, she's not going to hurt anything if she doesn't have to.
Right.
And I think that they're dropping these little things that keep giving us hints that she's going to be force sensitive or something like that. And then they're going to go she has the ability of the other clones. And I think that they are doing a really good job of like bait and switch type, like with the headdress piece, like she could be a Palpatine. Oh, she could be this. It's like they're throwing those out there so we talk about it, but in the end, I think it'll upset a lot of people if she's force sensitive or if she's Palpatine. She may be a clone that eventually, in the story wise, Palpatine figures out about this, clone that has these abilities, and that's where he starts doing the force sensitive cloning stuff to figure out if he can clone himself. So I think we're going to see the progression of some of those things without full blown saying Omega is a clone that was, commissioned for Palpatine or something like that. Because even the clone, the Kaminoans are like, we don't know what the Empire has planned, so let's keep Omega safe. So the fact that they don't know makes me really feel like it's not a secret commission, because I can never remember his name. I remember, no, I don't even remember her name. But it's in there. It's in there every once in a while. Then when I need to say it, it pops out. It's is it Lama Say and then
Lama
something?
Oh yeah.
And Nala Say or whatever. Yeah.
Some
gibberish.
Some combination of syllables. Those. The cloners. It's easier.
There you go.
The fact that the cloners don't know really makes me feel like it's not something like that they've got planned. We may see it lead up to that, where Palpatine is like, oh, maybe I could still use clones and make use of these people. So
fair enough. Yeah, you know what? And you guys know me. I'm so wishy-washy. Last episode, I'm like, she's going to be force sensitive. And then Josh dropped that bomb on us earlier. And then I thought about this as you were talking. I'm like, you know what? She just might be intuitive. Hey, I don't have to go to war with this thing if I can throw the flashlight over there. It might not have had anything to do with the force. We don't even know. So this bait and switch, you used the term perfectly right there, Brandon. That's a good way to put it. And I think, what are you smiling about? What's going on over there? You're making me nervous.
Comment that popped up.
Oh, okay.
What? You guys see comments?
Yeah, we'll show you how to do that. I'll get to that one. So really quick.
I found it.
Yeah, there you go. So I just wanted to point out really fast, even though we saw one of his. Yeah. Hey, Sentry, thanks for stopping by and joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Mikey in Houston, the writers just want to keep us wondering Omega's force sensitive.
They need to stop it.
And then the ladies from, or at least one of them from Force of Light Entertainment dropped by. It's good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. We've got a lot of new faces in here tonight, and it's exciting, and we're having a lot of fun. And as always, between John and Chris, I'm not going to be able to get anything done because I'm going to be laughing so much.
Yama says.
Tiramisu and Yama says, yeah. You guys are freaking anyway. Oh man. So hold on, let me see, now I'm all off track. All right, so we get and I've got two more here that I want to talk about, and then we'll get into some goods and bads really quick, you guys. So we get back the Mimic is able to get the power source back. She goes back to the ship. We talked about the fact that something's wrong with Wrecker's chip, most likely, because they're really making it obvious he's got a headache. And then we get this. So,
Aww.
yeah. Bailey, talk about what's going on here and what you thought of that.
I see. This was a very sweet moment. I did like this a lot, even though, that plot line wasn't my favorite. But basically, Wrecker gives Omega her own room in the ship. And in the beginning, she was kind of like sleeping on the floor, and now she has her own room. So I thought that was really sweet. And I've said this many times in the past, but one of my favorite elements of Star Wars is that whole found family aspect. And I do I love the master and Padawan relationship. I am a sucker for parental relationships and whatnot. Like that is like my bread and butter right there. So this was really sweet. And I think it was a sweet way to end the episode after, because it had darker moments in it, so it was nice. So she has her own room, and they're getting more used to having a kid with them on board, and I think that's really sweet.
Nice. Brandon, before we get to you, I just wanted to point out really fast, Unboxing likes my helmet collection. I have a nice display. I tell you, flattery will get you everywhere on this channel, sir. Brandon, I thought jarring is not the right word. Jarring in a good way, because of everything we'd seen in this episode so far. What did you think of this?
Oh, I loved it. It was so much fun. And I talked about how Wrecker and Omega kind of flipped roles, but then this kind of it was very sweet, and I didn't...
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
I think you collected Star Wars.
But it was so funny because Wrecker really grinds my gears sometimes. But the two lines that I have absolutely loved so far are I like blowing stuff up because I like blowing stuff up. And we're gonna die, and he looks over at Omega and he's like, we're gonna be fine.
I was so glad someone brought that up. He's like, oh no, we're cool. Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah.
He was totally ready to take her food earlier, and then Hunter's like, dude, come on. She needs to eat. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm not used to having a kid around. And then you totally see that each one of them, we're probably gonna have a Omega connect with each one of them in a different way, where like Wrecker helped her get the room. We see Hunter really be like the parent figure for Omega, and I'm guessing just the way that things are going, that she's going to have a really, really, I like predictions, and I'm okay if they don't come out to be true, but I think we're going to get something really sweet between Omega and Echo, where she kind of feels everything that he's been through, and they have a conversation about being different, because I think she's going to figure out that she's kind of a combination of all these characters, and I think we're going to have that. And then I'm guessing we're going to see some sort of, they talk about, again, crosshairs, and she's like, you don't have to be hard on him, it's not his fault. And he's like, well, I'm not trying to be hard on him. I'm upset with myself because we left him behind. And she's like, well, then let's get him back. It's like, oh, geez, I wonder where this is heading.
Right over your head, right? Yeah.
Right. It's like, be more subtle about it, but at the same time, it's like, now we can kind of, from the beginning, we've it's been predictable, but I think it's been an enjoyable amount of predictable, because it's like, we expect to see these things, but the way that they do it's been pretty heartwarming, pretty dark with the good soldiers follow order stuff. And yeah, those sweet moments like that are sometimes the best, and then the the sweet moments and the dark moments are what Star Wars is all about, really.
Yeah, like, for me, I got a huge Empire Strikes Back vibe off of this, which is going to segue into what I want to talk about next, and I'll bring up a picture here in a second. But I was starting to get a Darth Vader Palpatine vibe off of Tarkin and Crosshair. And I'll tell you why, because at the end of the episode, and I want you guys to talk about this too, here's Crosshair. And if that doesn't look like a man who at some level deep down in his soul, maybe not in his conscious, is upset and knows something isn't right. And that's the found family, the good moments and the bad moments, and the redemption arcs are huge through Star Wars. So I'll drop that little nugget right there. Bailey, what did you think when you saw this? What are you getting from this?
Oh, I was with you 100% there, Paul, because redemption arcs are huge in Star Wars. But I think we've never seen a fully fleshed out redemption arc either. The redemption arcs we've seen have been pretty like, well, I'm going to die in 2 minutes. So I'm going to I'm so sorry for everything I've done. Bye. That's been the redemption arcs we've seen. We haven't seen a fully fleshed out one. And that's something that I'm hoping we'll do here. We'll see that progression of, I'm hoping he'll be able to put together the pieces of what might have happened to him. And maybe it might be Omega that's the one that gets through to him. I don't know. But I'm really hoping we see a fleshed out redemption arc instead of oh, I'm dying and I'm so sorry. That's it.
Right. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this? What did you get out of this?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, just because there are so many streams that, we're part of as this community, and I forget who it is, but they were like, yeah, I don't really like Crosshairs. He's kind of a jerk. We'll put it that way. And,
right.
And I've been very well, they're making it so it's not his fault. And I think they're doing a really good job with that. And some people just haven't caught on. And, you see it on Twitter where they're just like, oh, well, of course he's the bad guy and stuff like that. And it's like, you find images like this where that's a dude who hates himself right now.
Yeah.
He does not enjoy what he is doing. He is doing it because something in his brain is telling him to. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think so far with the character, they've done a hard job. They've had a hard time portraying him because he was still kind of like this in season 7 of the Clone Wars. If we saw a slightly different, kinder, not so rigid character, but at the same time, that's why the chip is working more on him, is because he was already such a strict kind of rule follower kind of person, that by the book that, maybe the chip was able to affect him. But I really do think that we'll get some sort of redemption. And I'm hoping it's not the Star Wars redemption where, like Bailey said, and I thought the way you were going to put it was, okay, I'm just going to die now. Yeah.
No, that's literally what's happened. I know I'm not going to last, so I'm so sorry. Goodbye.
Yeah. And I don't expect all the characters to make it. I expect a couple of them to sacrifice themselves. That's, sacrifice is a big key theme in Star Wars. And, obviously, people are just like, well, all the characters have to die because we haven't seen them in the future. And it's like, well, no, there's a thing called, writing in hindsight, where there's we have to figure out a way to fit these characters in. And that was nice, Bailey. And it's like these characters can do other things. These characters can do other things without being connected to the further part in the story. And if you could bring up the comment,
it's a galaxy far, far away with lots of planets, plenty of places to hide.
The comment was what soldiers do after war.
I was actually going to bring that up. Yeah, I've been waiting to get to that. Yeah. Whoops. And that's not the right one. Sorry. That's hey, Christian, good to see you. Sorry. I had it. Here it is. This is what I wanted to talk about this. So please go into this, Brandon, because I feel it.
And I feel like with the stories so far, we see the clone commanders like Rex and Wolf and Gregor they come back, and then in different ways they sacrifice themselves, and they were perfectly content with just hiding out and staying away from the Empire. And I would like to get a story where, maybe they have to bring up Marvel, they have once Thanos completes his mission, he's he lives on that planet, and he's just like, I'm gonna eat these big pineapples, and I'm just gonna be happy knowing that I'm away from everything. And I hope we get something like that with a couple of these characters, where it's like they know that Omega is safe, and then we see them and they might not have a connection for the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't need to show up in Rise of Skywalker. And you know what? Eventually there'll be something that retcons that, where they're like, well, you see that ship back here there? Yeah, that was the Bad Batch's ship. And we'll be like, cool, right. Just like Rex being on Endor, even though that character wasn't created for the guy. Right. It's an old guy with a white beard. Okay. Right. And I think it's cool that they were like, what?
I'm right here. I can hear you, old guy with a white beard. Thanks, man. Wow. No. But as a revenge.
Yeah, like I get why they would say that is Rex and stuff like that, because Ahsoka and he would be connected to the Jedi and the Rebellion and stuff like that. But not everything needs to be connected to the Skywalker saga, and that is where I want to see Star Wars stories go. And that's why when The Mandalorian came out, I was just like, are we going to get something completely self-isolated? And I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then there was a little Yoda, and I was like, oh, well, this is going to be cool, but it's not what I expected. Right? I've absolutely loved The Mandalorian, but it went a different direction than what I thought we were going to get and what I initially wanted. So I am perfectly fine with getting stories that aren't connected to the Skywalker saga, where we get little mentions of things, but completely isolated stories.
Yeah.
Sorry, rant over. Yeah,
that was beautiful, Brandon. Yeah, everything you said. You get them, B, get them, man. That was awesome. Bailey, did thoughts? I mean, wow, Brandon killed it. But you got thoughts?
Yeah, he did. He really did. And my God, this is why I have been preaching for a very long time: is people don't need to die because they don't appear in the Skywalker story. We are talking about a galaxy far, far away, with billions of planets, and they have, they could be completely different people. They don't have to be involved anymore. And that's very realistic. Like, people who go to war will stay away from that life if they want to. And I think it's so important. That is what we need to do. I am so tired of, this person doesn't show up, so we got to kill him off. It's like, why? And also, a sacrifice doesn't have to be death either. It could just, you know what? I am just removing myself, or I'm just going down a different path. I'm glad Filoni did that with Ahsoka, because I know George was like, nope, you got to kill everybody because they don't appear later. It's like, well, that doesn't have to be the case. Like, they could go down a different path. They can hide. You don't have to, they don't have to die just to die. So that's what I want. I think that's what they should do in Star Wars. I want fleshed out redemption arcs that doesn't involve dying and saying you're sorry in 2 minutes. And I want to see also not dying. Like, you could just disappear, and that's the end of it,
Yeah. I think it worked in Rogue One for me. I was happy actually that they killed everybody off, because it was bumped up against A New Hope so close. Right. And I didn't think Disney was going to let them do that. And I was going to be disappointed. And when they did that, I was like, all right. But you guys are making some excellent points here. It doesn't have to happen all the time. So,
no. And thank you, collecting Star Wars.
John makes a good point here too. And we'll just briefly touch on this. And then I got some things I want to hit down here. Crosshairs, they made a point of having him look around and look at the notches that Wrecker had made and look at the bunks, because Tech's specs are still up there. And he's got to be thinking to himself, how the heck did I get here, in his subconscious even? So John's got an excellent point there.
And that's something I really enjoy in the Vader comics, is when he is forced to see things from his past. You see that, what have I done? And I thought that was very powerful.
Agree. Oh, look at that. Welcome to the stream, Alan. For those of you who don't know, this is my brother.
Oh, no.
It's another.
Is this the one that lives near me?
Yeah, that's the one that's in your. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
understand. Yeah. So just what you need, Brandon, another Taylor in the group, right? So let's see. Christian dropped by from Smuggler's Canyon and mentioned that he'd had a good night out. There he is. Christian, thanks for stopping by. I had to hit up.
Right.
Never going to get any judgment from me. That's for sure. Yeah, and you know what? This is the other one I wanted to show. Unboxing the boxes makes a good point here. It would be nice to, at least for an episode or two, right, Bailey?
Yes, like you don't have to die to redeem yourself. That's not realistic. Okay,
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
can you imagine if that existed in the real world? Like every time someone made a mistake, they have to die for it. Like, come on. Like I know like this is a little more dramatized and whatnot, but it's just like you don't have to die to redeem yourself. Sometimes it's better for them to live with that. You know, for some characters, that makes sense. Like Vader dying, that makes sense.
Right.
But there are other characters that I am like, they didn't have to die, but okay.
Fair enough. So we're going to head down here real quick. All right. I think we hit the plot points and our overall impressions on what again felt like 2 episodes, because we did 2 episodes last time, and this one felt like 2 episodes just kind of mashed together. But before we head on to the good, Brandon, did you get out everything that you wanted to get out in that segment? Did we hit what you wanted to?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bailey.
I think I think we've done a good job.
So heroes don't have to die to become redeemed, basically.
Yep.
That's what we got. Okay. Brandon, so we're going to talk about,
very good comment.
yeah, we're going to talk about what you thought they did well in this episode, because I think we can find at least one good thing. We've already hit some of those in this one.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts and what you thought they did well in this episode.
I'll do one for each one of the like separate story arcs. Yeah. And that was setting up the found family for Omega even further with the Wrecker and the Hunter stuff. And then for the other arc with the elite troopers, I'm going to say it's it is the emotional weight of what Crosshairs is doing. That image perfectly sums it up. That's a man who is not happy with what he's doing.
Right.
And like Bailey mentioned, the Vader comics, those are amazing, where you get to see where he's like, he hates himself. And that's what, feeds his power even more, is like, looking back on what he's done. And it's like, well, it's very retrospective on it, but he still justifies it. But I'm hoping we'll see something different with Crosshairs, where, maybe at some point they figure out what to do with the chips and they can deactivate his chip. And then, maybe we get a redemption arc where the person doesn't die. So I think that's the good.
Excellent. Bailey, what are your thoughts on what they did well with this 2 episode?
I don't disagree with Brandon. I think, I really did enjoy seeing those found family scenes, because like I said, that's probably my favorite thing about Star Wars, is those moments. Like I go nuts for them. I think they did a really good job there. Honestly, that could have been like its own episode too. Like we didn't have to merge 2 different things together. And I guess that would be like my only comment on it, but I really enjoyed the whole elite trooper. I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed seeing Crosshair. I enjoyed seeing that internal struggle, because that is something we see a lot in Star Wars too, where it's like we see these characters and they've done something, like Vader, Barasafi, etc., and they have a moment where they're like, what have I done? Problem is, we just haven't seen a fleshed out redemption, but I liked that a lot. And I really liked the whole debate of, are we going to continue with clones or not? Like, what is the next line of troopers? I enjoyed that a lot. I guess to put it in short, I do like the seeds that they planted. I just think maybe instead of trying to fit 2 different things going on within 25 minutes, because 25 minutes isn't a lot to flesh out 2 different things. And so if they would have just maybe have one on the Elite Troopers and the next episode be on the whole Omega connecting with, the Bad Batch more. That would have been great. I didn't need to see both of those things happening simultaneously. So, yeah, I do enjoy the foreshadowing.
Fair enough. I'm really beginning to believe that for sure we're only getting one season of this because, just like Bailey said, they're trying to cram a lot into a short amount of time so they can get done what they want to get done. And that's a very good point. I think Chris made he's being funny, but he's got a good point here. You know what I mean? Think of Scrooge as if he died at the end of that. So hopefully, the more I listen to you guys, I think my take on the whole Crosshair is the new Vader and Tarkin is going to be the Emperor, for lack of a better way to put it in this. I'll be interested to see how they flesh that out. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Now, we kind of have gone over this a little bit throughout, but Brandon, we'll go back to you again really fast. What do you think they, I hate to put the bad on there, but what do you think they could have done better? What could they have improved on this one?
And I'm just going to say, it being so predictable and it being a very played out way of storytelling. It's you've got some very brilliant minds in Star Wars, and the way that they're able to place these things within episodes is amazing. But let's see a little bit more creativity on how to do that. I understand it is a kid's show, even though it's been very dark and there are some themes that are pretty complex. But at the same time, it's, as soon as you're watching the episode and they're like, oh, we're crashing. It's like, okay, this is going to be crashed on a planet. Are we going to have to, is somebody going to get lost? Is a part of the ship not working? Oh, Hunter got knocked out and Omega needs to save the day. That's the only thing that I'm going to say is that has been it's been the predictability of it, but with that, back to the good is the way that they've dropped little things and little moments in it that have made the predictable parts better.
Right. I will take an episode full of seed planting if that's what they think they need to. I'm just hoping that this isn't a foreshadowing of exactly what we can expect, because literally as soon as Hunter went down, I went, called it. Oh, now she's going to go get it. Called it, this mouthy fool's not going to make it past this mission. Called it, you know what I mean? And I get it. It's a kid's show ostensibly, but I don't want me to sit there going, and if I can predict, come on, man. Yeah. Cause I'm stupid. So yeah. So I'm just hoping that doesn't seem to be the case. Let's not forget the most legendary somehow.
An adult.
As soon as you said that, Bailey, I'm just thinking, if Crosshair goes, what have I done? I'm quitting. I don't want to play. Yeah, I don't want to play. Okay, I'm not going to do it, man. But yeah, Josh has a very good point here. The predictable story just provides a vessel for the seed planting. It's an easy way to get it into your head. So I'm willing to give him a huge leeway on that and see where we go from there for sure. I want to talk about some fan theories, you guys. Bailey, we'll let you go first this time, ma'am. Have you seen anything out there that either explains something we've already seen or that people think is going to happen with just what we know so far, that you're either like, oh, no, or yeah, that's going to happen? Something new, or is it just still about where we're at?
So I personally haven't really listened to any fan theories. I haven't really dug into it because when I'm watching a show the first time around, I like to make my own. And the one that I have going for me that I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just have it in my head that not everyone in the Bad Batch is going to make it. And it might just be one or two left standing. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now, just the whole chip thing. And I feel like it might just be process of elimination because, again, in Star Wars, for a reason, you must die if you do not appear 20 years down the future. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But besides that, I've been kind of staying out of it because sometimes when you listen to too many fan theories, it ruins it, because then you kind of go into the show and you're like, well, I'm expecting this to happen, and oh, how dare they didn't go down that road because so-and-so said, and they made a good case about it, so I'm mad. So that's why I kind of stay out of it and just make my own.
Got it. Brandon, I will ask you this same question, and then most likely what we're going to do next episode is I'm going to combine this with predictions, and we'll just roll them all into one.
Okay.
What you got, man?
I am still thinking that yes, we will see Commander Cody at some point. I am sticking to that, and I'm not going to say I'm going to be disappointed, but I will, because the time period suits it so well, and if we don't see Commander Cody during this, it just feels like they left something big out. That's a character, especially when it comes to clones, that needs to. There are characters that need to have ends or to be seen during certain time periods, and Commander Cody to the transition of the Empire, to me, feels like a must. So when I saw that Trooper, people were predicting that it was going to be Commander Cody, I was like, that makes sense for the storytelling. That makes sense to get some closure with that character. After the last time we saw him, he was trying to shoot down Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. And now we know that character is not Commander Cody. It's like, well, then how else could we see him? And I've been trying to stay away from the fan theories, because there's been some stupid stuff that I've seen. Yeah. And I'm just trying to watch the show and enjoy the show and the storytelling in the show, and not because the Omega as Phasma.
Oh my god!
almost broke me.
Right? Yeah.
I was like,
"Come on, man!
Why am I on this?
It must be her."
Right? Yeah.
It's like, why am I on this bird app, and why am I trying? So yeah.
Oh my god.
We can move on now.
Fair enough. So I tell you what, as a group, can we just agree that this next time, this thing will not be a topic? Fan theories is not going to be a topic. We'll just go straight into predictions. And if you guys want to meld it into some fan theories that you may or may not like, that we'll do that. Then how about that? Really quick, Sleeping, thank you so much for dropping by. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. Sleeping, for those of you that don't know, has been a huge and ardent supporter of the Bad Batch breakdown. He's sent his people in his stream over to support us, and it did not go unnoticed, and we have appreciated it immensely. So thank you very much, sir. And I think Chris makes a very good point here, Brandon. I think you're nuts.
Well, that's why we wear glasses.
So I just wanted to point out, Brandon, that I'm not the only old guy giving you a hard time. Okay, these are all your friends. So
Chris has glasses too.
Oh, fair enough.
Wow. It takes one to know one, Chris.
Josh, as always, man, I tell you, I'm gonna miss his contributions when he has to go back to work, when everything starts opening up. But Bailey, you want to answer this one for me? If Cody shows up, do you think he'll be remorseful for what he did?
Possibly. It's hard to say, because we have yet to really see that side of the things. Kind of like what Brandon was saying, is that would be an excellent route to take story-wise, to see, because we know, like, we can't use Rex as an example because he got his chip removed. So, right. But Cody probably still has his chip. So maybe it would be interesting to know, because the Clone Wars did a really good job emphasizing the relationship between the clone commanders and their Jedi. So it would be interesting to see if there is that conflict of, well, I know I didn't have control of my actions and good soldiers follow orders, but at the same time, what has Obi-Wan done? You know, that would be something I would be all aboard for. I would love to see that. So maybe, because we don't know a whole lot about the chip in terms of, like, does that take their individuality away completely or not? Do they have that part of their memory erased or not? Is it, we don't know. So I think that would be, if the writers were smart, they would do which I'm sure they are. Don't come for me.
And I will tell you that scene in the first episode where the Emperor is giving his speech and the clones in a big formation down there are all rah, rah, rah. It makes it seem like that those chips take away all their emotions and make them completely robotic. But you have to discount that because men in large formations, having been in the military, or people in large groups act differently than they would otherwise. So I think we have to discount that. Mm-hmm. Brandon, what's your take on that before we start winding things down? Or do you think Cody would actually have some remorse?
I would hope so, but it would make sense if he didn't. Much like Crosshair, well, we see Crosshairs is struggling with it clearly, just in the images. I would really like to know what they would do with Cody when it comes to that, because he worked with Obi-Wan so closely, like Rex with Ahsoka and Anakin. That's Cody is with Obi-Wan, and their relationship is a little bit different, just because I feel like Rex is closer with Anakin and Ahsoka than Cody was with Obi-Wan. But it would be nice to see them retain some of their individuality and realize that, they may not realize why they did it, but understand that it was but at the same time, you think you'd have more clones questioning, right. Which is why it's so hard. Which is why I'm leaning towards that it pretty much does take away their own agency, which is too bad. But I mean, that makes sense. From the Clone Wars, we see the brain scan, and when the chip gets activated, you see that it changes the brain chemistry of the clone.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
There could be some very powerful moments coming up with some more
I love them
for the clones. I saw Collecting Star Wars made a comment for the fan theory thing.
Right.
If you wanted to throw that up, and
there we go.
In the original Battlefront 2 game, I know a lot of people have played it because it's one of the favorite video games when it comes to Star Wars. In the story of it, you actually take Boba Fett and the 501st, which has then now converted over to Vader's fist. And you go back to Kamino and you wipe out the cloning facility and get rid of the DNA. That's no longer canon, because that was the story made just for that Battlefront 2 in 2005. But okay. That's a very interesting fan theory that, are we going to see a fight between, at some point, is it going to come to blows between the people who are joining and getting paid by the Empire versus the clones who are really fighting to not be forgotten, and are they going to have a purpose after this? So I think we could see something like that where those clones start getting hunted down.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I could see how you could, there you go. You could do that in almost secret, because as far as the rest of the galaxy knows, Kamino still doesn't exist. It's been completely pulled out. I mean, maybe the odd smuggler or somebody has it on their star charts, but yeah, absolutely. And then we'll talk about this real quick. Bailey, do you have a thought on what Collecting's talking about here? Could Tech and Omega be the key to releasing the clones from the influence of their chips? And would that even happen in this series, do you think?
I mean, it would be an interesting direction to take, and I think that would be tricky, because I think that would involve them going back to Kamino, and because that's where the lab is.
Right.
Or, and that's, Tarkin's there. So I think that would be very tricky. And I think that if it was, say it was a possibility and they were able to deactivate the chip, and like Brandon said, it changed the brain chemistry, I wonder, would that reverse that? And it would be like they woke up from a dream or something. Or they're right. Like, what just happened? I don't know what's going on. I think that would be a very interesting, but I see that more as like in an alternate universe. Like I can see, I don't think that's going to happen. Sadly, I think, unfortunately, they seem to be leaning towards, as Brandon says, where these guys have just lost, their individuality, and they're there to abide by the Empire. Whatever they're told to do, they do it. So I think maybe if that was a possibility, maybe.
Right. And we have to keep in mind, I'm still betting one season. We're already coming up on our 4th episode, and we got to get to Stormtroopers in the Empire at some point. So how much can they jam into one series and stuff like that? But Josh, as always, excellent point here. So we are coming up a little over an hour and a half again, you guys. This has been another what? Burn it all down. Oh, Gilster.
Burn it all down.
Brandon, you got to stop reading the comments, because then I get interested.
I know.
I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Don't apologize. I'm like, oh, what did someone say? I want to see. But I think you guys have made some excellent points again, and we'll do a little housekeeping really quick. We have had a lot of people in here tonight, and I've been incredibly flattered by the amount of people that have come in and joined us and gotten involved in the chat and given some great suggestions and some great questions. As always, this is the Bad Batch Breakdown with Brandon and Bailey, or Bailey and Brandon, depending on which one is your favorite. Yes, I have to say that every time. Exactly. Bailey's my favorite. Don't tell Brandon. But we're here every Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we will continue to do this until the series runs out, or we all just get sick of each other. But with that, Brandon, did we miss anything, man? You got any final thoughts? What's going on? What's going on in your head, man? I want to hear it. No,
I am trying to not predict, but at the same time, I'm trying to. I do enjoy each episode, and doing this whole thing, I'm super excited. And we even talked about it on the Peg Warmers. Somebody asked about like the Bad Batch or something, and the guys even acknowledged the fact that we aren't going to talk about it much because they respect what we're doing here with the show too.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
So yeah. And it's, we don't talk to each other throughout the week when it comes to what happened with the episode. Like you guys messaged about the lo-fi Star Wars music and stuff like that, but we don't talk about the show or anything. So when we are talking to each other about our opinions and stuff, that's the first time we're hearing each other talk about it. And that's one of my favorite things is we all come to the table with our own set of our ideas, and then we hear what each other has to say, and we're like, okay, we can think about that in a different way. And people in the chat too, it's I like that we can be very respectful of people's opinions, and that's what it's all about. So I want to thank everybody involved, you two, and everybody in the chat that comes, because it's easy to do this when it's just talking to people, about what we like about Star Wars. Absolutely. And then Brandon, you make some excellent points there. To reiterate what he said, nothing in this is scripted. These guys have no idea what the other thinks when they get here. If you were at the beginning of the show, sometimes I'll throw a curveball at them and they've had no time to prepare. They prepare in their heads and they take notes, but because they know what the topics are going to be, but they don't know how each other feels about it. And what we're trying to get here is something genuine, but polite and dignified. And the fact that the two of them don't agree on everything, and actually don't agree with a lot of you people in the chat either, is what makes this fun. Right? I mean, Bailey got you really got some opinions started there when you said, hey, this episode could have gone in the dustbin of the world and we'd have been fine. So, but what's your final thoughts there, man? What else you got for us?
No, I again, Brandon, you couldn't have said it better. It is so much fun doing this show and just not knowing how we feel. Like, I have a pretty good idea. Like, I know these guys well enough to know, like, I think they're going to like this or not like this, or if anything, I'm the one that's going to be coming in with the checklist because I just think a little different. And I don't want to say, like, I'm not enjoying the show either. Right. Like, I want to say that. Like, these shows are enjoyable to watch. Like, they are entertaining. When I have my criticism, I'm just thinking, I'm putting a different hat on of, like, okay, I can see, the pros and cons. So, and it's just so much fun to be able to have this show, because I think if I didn't have this going on, I don't think I would have thought about that. Because, like, sometimes I hear what Brandon has to say, and I'm like, okay, well, now that you put it that way, I can, okay. Like, it's so good to have this, and it's really fun interacting with people. I know I have been promoting this show across multiple social media, and I recognize those people in this chat because they know me from other places. So that's probably me. All these people coming in, is I know who they are, and they're coming in.
Did you hear that, Brandon? They're not here to see us. They're just here to see Bailey.
But these people, they know my opinions, but
right.
But I think what's so fun is like these people might know what we think, but when it comes to the three of us, we have no idea what the other is going to say or do, and it's just fun. This is just so much fun. So thank you everyone in the chat, and it's fun. And please, I have to say, Paul, I really enjoyed those 2 comments. Like, please guys, please bring those comments in, because I love debating this stuff. I really do. Because sometimes you guys point things out that I don't see or that Brandon sees. That's what makes this fun and I think this is something that needs to be practiced more in this fandom. And that's kind of why we built this show, is to encourage that behavior of having these discussions without anyone getting upset or emotional.
And I will tell you, I get it. It's a silly Star Wars show. But you guys, I'm actually glad for having done this, because when I came into this, I thought I'd wasted half an hour of my life earlier today when I watched the show. But now that I listen and get your guys' opinion and listen to Josh and Chris and John and and Sleeping and everybody that was in here, it actually, I'm like, okay, I think I can appreciate this a little bit more, because it's helped talking about it. So I agree with everything you guys have said. And we're going to continue to do this until these 2 are just sick of me. So we'll start winding it down. Alan, thanks for stopping by, man. It's he's my youngest brother, and he knows I'm an idiot, so I think he's just impressed that I've been able to run this thing. So, Mike in Houston, thank you very much, man. Part of the reason this stream was great is because everybody has been in here helping us, giving us stuff to talk about. Blitz, I'm so glad. Please come back next time. You're always welcome. John, what? Hold on. Like in society, we always need to end up the loser or the aggressive Vietnam War quit. Oh, he was talking about how it was called the Clone Wars, and the clothes were the good guys. Yeah. So, collecting Star Wars. It was great to see you tonight. Great show, great host, great chat. You know what? It was all these guys. Seriously, I just push a bunch of buttons and bounce stuff off of them. Chris, couldn't have done without you. Not gonna lie. You and Josh just are like the other hosts for this thing. And then of course you got a big fan there, Brandon. Look at that. Yeah. Unboxing the boxes, my Star Wars collection. Good show. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was fun to watch. I do the best I can for you. Oh, David got here just in time for us to tell him goodbye. David, it's good to see you, man. Hope you'll hit us up on the rewind, brother. Josh, highly engaging and entertaining conversation. Yeah, and you know what? A third of that is Josh, because he's become the de facto third member of the panels since we started this, and I'm not saying that lightly. I appreciate it. And then John, great show. Love the stream. It's a highlight of every weekend. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because I don't know, John's on 6 different streams, runs his own stream, and has a museum in the background. So the fact that we are interesting, I'm glad to hear. So, and yeah, you know what, JT, that's so funny, because I keep track of the time because I don't want it to go so long. But you're right, goes by so fast. I'll tell you guys a little secret. When I first planned the show, I was going for about a half hour. Remember, Brandon? Remember, Bailey? Yeah. We ain't hit close to a half hour yet, and it's been great. So, and then Chris, I think you and Chris need to have a conversation offline, Brandon, okay? Just so you know. Let me see if we make sure I haven't missed anybody here. Oh, you know what, Gilster? He's, hey, how about some droids in the background there? I'm doing the best I can, all right? This stuff's everywhere, so.
I think he means in the show.
Okay.
The Imperial droids in the back.
There you go. All right, well, we're wondering what Jacob, Team Bailey. There you go. Everybody's, there's I got a fan now, guys. I'm important too. Look at that. So where can we find you all on social media? You know what? We've never talked about that before. Obviously, we're hosted here on Paul's Collectibles. Bailey is a part of Paul's Collectibles, so you will see any videos or live streams she's in here on my channel. Brandon, talk about yours.
On Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, it's all Apprentice Ewok, no spaces, just like if you pull the comment down, just like that. So my name is Brandon, but that's where you can find me. If you type that in, you can find me on all the different social media there. So,
and Bailey, you're not super active on social media, but where can we find you on Twitter and stuff?
Oh yeah, so I have a Twitter. and I'm not the best at keeping up with Twitter, but I am active on other platforms. So I believe I'm under, just look up my name, Paul's Collectibles, and I'm very easy to find. And I'm more than, shoot me a message, and I'm more than happy to show you like where I'm active, and I love it. So yeah, feel free to find me on Twitter. It's my name, Paul's Collectibles. When it comes to YouTube, I'm connected with the channel. I don't have my own channel, so I'm just hanging out with these guys. But when it comes to other social media platforms, shoot me a message. I would love to talk to you, and I would love to hear what you have to say. So
absolutely. And Paul's Collectibles has a Facebook page. Just search Paul's Collectibles. And we have a Twitter account. And I'm fairly active on there, but it's hard to keep up with. I'm not going to lie. So Brandon's the most active out of these three here. He's a machine. It's just impressive. So let's see. It's Smugglers. It's been emotional, guys. Smugglers had a little bit of the devil's sauce this evening, and so he's feeling good. Grandpa's cough medicine. So Christian, I appreciate you sticking it out with us, man. Treebeard, thank you, man. Brand new to the show this time. Good to see you. Salacious is always a fan, and Sleeping, we'll go out with you. Great show for sure. I'm glad I caught the last little bit. We are always excited to have you. Thank you for all your support. So one last time, that's what the icon looks like. It's hosted at here on Paul's Collectibles YouTube channel. I've got Bailey. I've got Brandon with me. It's the Bad Batch Breakdown with Brandon and Bailey. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday until this series runs out, or like I said, or we get tired of doing it. We have enjoyed having each and every one of you here. Thank you so much for sticking it out with us. We try to keep it on point and on topic so we don't bore you to death. And so everybody that was here with us at the beginning and made it all the way through, I greatly appreciate you. If you're watching on the rewind and you have any questions or comments, please throw those down below. I'm having fun throwing curveballs at these guys right as we start out because they haven't seen those. They know the topics, but they don't know the specifics. So if you can help me out with that, I'd greatly appreciate it. And with that, Brandon, I think we taught you the Paul's Collectibles headed out thing last time. You remember that?
Yep, I do.
We'll see you on the next video.